Hello, intactivist. I am with David Candella once again. He is an intactivist that has toured with the Bloodstained Men before, and he's also running a intactivist Zazzle shop that sells merchandise for intactivism. And yeah, is there anything else that I missed, David, that you
No,
do?
that's about it. Yeah.
Uh,
It's Zazzle.com, breaking the cut.
all right, awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
one thing I like about David is that me and him, we disagree at times, and that's super okay because we don't let that come in between us, and I don't think we have any real grudges against each other, and he offers me different opinions, and it challenges me to think, and yeah. So, David, I did tell you before, this is gonna be more of a difficult interview, correct? Like, you're ready for this?
Yeah, sure.
Alright,
Whatever you got.
awesome. So, let's talk about Gaudaff first, and, like, what are your opinions on Gaudaff in general?
Well, it's the Genital Autonomy Legal Defense Education Fund, right? I don't know much about them other than their acronym and that they're more in the legal realm of things. I mean, I think it's great what they're doing. They're fairly new too. Like, is it just founded just this year or something? But yeah, I know you made a video about they took a stance on the whole Israeli Palestine conflict, and you were kind of critical of that. I think it just seems like generic virtue signaling. It seems kind of irrelevant to their mission. So I don't know why they would have made such a post, but ultimately it seems kind of irrelevant to their actual mission.
Okay, so what do you think about Gaudaff and how it seems like they're completely ignoring, like, their fan base, especially when they partnered with the We as well. But do you think the We is a pro-circ organization, or they just don't care about circumcision at all? Like, what do you think about the We and their partners?
Well, I would imagine that they are against circumcision if GalDef would even take the time to partner with them. It would kind of not make any sense at all if they didn't. It's kind of like GalDef partnering with some sort of animal cruelty organization. So, I mean, I don't know much about we, but I'd imagine that they must be against circumcision if GalDef partnered with them. I know that in that video you made, you showed a few things about how they mentioned HIV on their website or something like that, trying to eradicate it. They didn't offer any kind of solution to how they do that. So therefore, we really can't just assume that they think that circumcision is an end to that. It might be through drugs or something like that.
Okay, because I was gonna ask that, like,
Mm.
how else are we trying to combat AIDS? Because the only thing I can think of is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I believe that's what it's called.
Well, there's drugs now to try to reduce your chance of contracting it, and from what I hear, those drugs are very effective. I've never understood why they don't try to use that drug in these African campaigns to actually end HIV, because if they're so effective, because they're being used here in the United States, then wouldn't it make sense to try to provide that over there, and help them out?
Yeah, no, it definitely would make sense. I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know too much about we. Okay, so another question is how
Mhm.
transparent do you think Gaudaff is being? Like, would you say that they're being very mysterious in what they're doing, or do you think they're being open and letting us know what's going on?
Yeah, I imagine they're sharing whatever they seem to think is relevant to their mission, which I could see why intactivists would get confused when they made that article talking about their stance against the Hamsa terrorists, as they called it.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
yeah, I'd imagine
okay.
they're going to be transparent going forward. They're going to always clue people in on what's going on and stuff. They're not
Okay,
going to
yeah.
try to be mysterious.
Yeah, no, definitely, they definitely let us know a whole lot about other topics as
Mhm.
well besides circumcision. So, do you think Gaudaff is a purely intactivist nonprofit, or do you think it's like a hybrid? Because it seems like they talk a lot about the LGBT too as well.
Yeah, I didn't fully understand why they were promoting that movie. I didn't really look into it too far, but if the movie itself draws parallels to the genital autonomy issue, then I suppose it would make sense. But my understanding is the movie was completely independently on its own about the LGBT rights movement, and that the actual drawing the connection to the genital autonomy movement is something that they discussed at some sort of panel or something, like maybe after the movie.
Okay. Also,
Yeah.
I don't know this, but if you know this, that'd be great. Did Gaudev actually end up going to Turkey? Because I know they were like $2,000 short or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. The only person I know that has anything to do with them, I believe, is John Atkinson. He he either volunteers for them or works directly with them. I know him personally; he's a friend of mine. So, but he's never mentioned anything about it. But to be fair, I haven't asked either. So,
Okay. So, you've toured with the Bloodstained Men before, and I'm sure you know Brother K quite well. Or how well would you say that you know Brother K?
well, I've never actually toured with the Bloodstained Men, but I have joined them on particular events in certain cities. But as far as actually going city to city with them on a tour, I have yet to do something like that. Brother K, though, yeah, I feel like I know him fairly well. I've
Oh,
if I've ever dealt with the Bloodstained Men, it's always been directly through him. I've any kind of contact or questions. I mean, even has my number, so he's messaged me before about different questions and stuff.
okay, awesome. So, have you ever talked to Brother K about Prevail over the System before?
No.
Oh, interesting. Okay, okay.
I haven't actually spoken with Brother K and since probably about May or so, which I believe is even before you started your channel. So
Yeah, I probably.
I try to not bother the guy unless I have something that might be of his interest because he's a very busy person. He dedicates all of his free time, or at least it seems like he dedicates most of his free time to activism.
Yeah, it's interesting because like what is your can you give me like some rationale? Because if you look at the polls right now, Forgin is beating Bloodstained Men by like well over 15% right now. Can you
Mm.
explain to people why you think that the Bloodstained Men are losing to Forgin?
Well, I think that is because most of your viewers prefer Fortune over Bloodstained Men. I think that seems apparent, right?
Well,
Um,
yeah.
One of your very first videos that was even Intactivist related was you interviewing Intactivist Anonymous, and they seem to be solely focused on promoting 4gen, or at least in that interview that he did with them. I even went and checked out their Rumble account, and every single one that they had was solely promoting 4gen. And also, just as a random added note, the automated voice thing that they're using for those videos was never pronouncing 4gen right, so it was kind of humorous. Unfortunately, 4gen isn't technically a word either, so maybe that's why those voice automated things aren't pronouncing it properly.
Yeah. That's interesting that you bring that up. Because we've also had, NOI, which they solely focus on the Bloodstained Men. We had them on twice, and
Mm-hmm.
we've had you obviously, and you. I think the majority of your expertise would be in Bloodstained Men, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's the majority of what I know is Bloodstained Men.
Uh,
I like I've mentioned before in the past interview, it's I probably prefer their organization of out of all of them. They're the most organized and well known at the moment. Like maybe there's a chance at some point another organization like Cockfight or something might be able to rise to those heights. Hopefully they will. Because the more the merrier. But at the moment, Let's Say Man has put up billboards throughout the country.
yeah,
They're slowly becoming a household name. I think there's a big chance that the artist Pink, she actually recognized that the billboard that man was holding up on his phone because she's seen it before. I think that from where she was and where he was, it probably was very difficult for her to actually read what the thing said, but she did recognize the imagery. That's my assumption.
oh, that's a good point. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so It's interesting too because we also had Daniel Bryce on here, and Daniel Bryce is a very likable guy. Lots of people love him. He's like the tattoo dude that has survivor of circumcision on his arms, correct?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
says yeah, survivor of genital mutilation, I believe. No, no, maybe it does say circumcision. Yeah, he's a
Okay.
good guy. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's interesting that we've also interviewed, three very pro bloodstained men and some anonymous and activist group like pulled in a bunch of Foragin supporters. Like, I mean, do you just I don't know. Like, do you think that Foragin's just better at spreading the message than bloodstained men? Because I mean, Intact Anonymous is like, what's that, Um, I don't know, like what's your
yeah.
opinion?
I would have had no idea who Intactivist Anonymous was if it wasn't for your interview with them. I think that ultimately the whole people preferring 4gen, I think that's just kind of evident in the Discord of yours. Just I guess most of the people you pulled in seem to prefer it. I've seen a few people that are skeptical of 4gen on the Discord, but for the most part, it seems like a lot of people really put their hope in regenerating the foreskin, which is interesting, because I never really saw it as an end to circumcision. But I have spoke with some people in the Discord, and they've shared that that's their actual opinion is that through regenerating the foreskin, that'll actually end up becoming the what ends circumcision, because that's when people will finally be able to see that there's value in the foreskin, and hopefully, like some influencers and stuff will try it out and end up liking it and promoting it. And the more people start regenerating their foreskin, might increase or decrease the amount of people thinking that it's a good idea to cut their sons.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
personally, I'm a little skeptical of that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how likely that would. But I think that it needs to be multiple efforts all coming together at once to finally bring an end to it. The thing about circumcision is it's such like a wound, like a psychological wound that compels people to want to make sure that others are like them. It's like an identity. People, it's like an us versus them type of thing. And when people don't really think too in depth about it, that's when the mammalian mind starts taking over, and they start acting fairly irrationally. And anybody who's ever advocated against circumcision in public and has discussed it with the general public would know that people become very irrational about the topic, and I
Okay.
think they don't even know why. you know?
Yeah. How, because it kind of seems like the POTS audience prefers Forgin and that Bloodstained Men supporters aren't like here or not enough here, like all for full force on Bloodstained Men. So how would you say that Prevail of the System could get Bloodstained Men supporters to start joining Prevail of the System and start subscribing?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Maybe if you talked more on the issue of circumcision directly, like I know doing all these interviews and stuff, you like to take a neutral stance and not really put forth your own opinion, but perhaps if you did, that might change for you. In one of your videos, you mentioned that Bloodstained Men is promoting Intact Infants, that group from Nigeria, and they're not promoting anything of yours. But the thing is I think naturally Bloodstained Men would share things that Intact Infants have shared simply because they share just general condemnation of circumcision. They make all kinds of posts that outright condemn it and promote the foreskin and that sort of stuff. And that's just right up Bloodstained Men's alley. They're going to just naturally come across posts like that, and they're going to share it. And then they see, like, oh, this is a group that's actively against circumcision. I'm going to go ahead and follow them, but Prevail over the System with what you've been doing. As much as it's great that you're interviewing all these intactivists and you are promoting these organizations and even donating portions of the charity program to them, ultimately, you haven't really made any Twitter or X posts really condemning circumcision on your own accord. But I suppose if you did start doing that, you would definitely start garnering the attention of bloodstained men and their followers.
Okay. Interesting.
Mhm.
So I guess that kind of leads on to my next question about bloodstained men, because you did see the video of where Brother K called Fortune a scam, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So does Brother K still hold those views of Fortune being a scam?
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, that was 5 years ago, and as you pointed out, they haven't really made any public posts about it since. I did a little digging myself, and I actually found evidence of Brother K being skeptical of Fortune long before James Lowery even made that post. But not just Brother K, I actually found a lot of evidence that, in general, intactivists have been skeptical of Fortune and their mission for a long time now. And interestingly, I found a post from 2013 from Fortune themselves, which actually explained why they're not promoting intactivism and they don't actually engage in intactivist efforts because their mission is just entirely different. They want to actually help regenerate the foreskin, and they want to put all their focus in that, which is good. Because inherently it'll condemn circumcision itself, just by virtue of if people have the capacity to regenerate their foreskin, and if they really do have a product that works well. I mean, that's the biggest thing is like until Fortune has something to sell people and provide, it doesn't really do anybody any good at this moment. But like you've pointed out, it brings people hope, and hope is a very good thing for people.
Yeah. So do you think, because a lot of critics would say of Bloodstained Men that they should be covering everything intactivist, whether they agree with it or not. Like they should at least give their audience like, hey, like especially on Prevail with the System, we cover things that we don't necessarily agree with. And that's a-okay, because I think my audience is smart enough to make that decision. But however, it seems that Bloodstained Men, they just want to put what they want to put out there, and other intactivist things like, like Prevail System or have it be Forgin, they're like, oh no, why would we post anything about that? Do you think they have a responsibility to go and share this with people that are intactivists?
Well, like I pointed out in the last answer, Forgin is not an intactivist organization, and they don't engage in intactivism, nor do they want to. So, with that in mind, the idea of bloodstained men promoting anything intactivist related can still apply to them simply not ever sharing anything Forgin related because Forgin is not an intactivist organization.
All
So,
right.
there's that.
So, oh, okay, but Bloodstained Men, they have pushed foreskin restoration, which is the
Mhm.
manual stretching of your foreskin, and that has nothing to do with intactivism then, if that's the case. Um,
Right. The Forgin Restoration isn't an organization. It's just the thing that you can do. It's been happening ever since circumcision has existed. Yeah, foreskin restoration has existed as long as circumcision, from what we could tell historically, because there's evidence of people creating essentially foreskin restoration devices all the way back in the probably the Roman era, maybe even predating that. It's just a historical thing that's been going on for a long time, and it still continues to this day. And it does empower men to essentially fight back, um, because you could essentially restore your foreskin, and that could psychological help, make you feel whole again, even though it's not the actual foreskin per se, but it is the remnant foreskin being stretched and protecting the glands. As far as why Bloodstained Man would promote that and not Forgin, I mean, the Bloodstained Man has even gone far as to condemn things that aren't even intactivist related at all, such as spanking. I've seen them make posts against spanking, and that's up to them and how they want to do things. Me personally, I think when you're trying to talk to others about circumcision and try to convince them to not circumcise, I think bringing up either foreskin restoration or foreskin regeneration isn't exactly helpful to that conversation. I've had many experiences where I did bring it up, and people who, granted they're probably already set on circumcising their sons, and no matter what I say, they're going to do it anyways, right? But the thing is the moment I bring up restoration or regeneration, they immediately like, oh, well, that's great, because I could just cut now, and if they want to restore or regenerate later, then that'll be an option for them, you know, because some people are just so set on, this is my child, I own them, I could do whatever I want to them, and like some people speak very vilely about the foreskin. They won't even entertain the idea of having that in their home. It's really degrading, because really born male isn't a disease. Like we're totally fine the way we are. They shouldn't be altering us. But what can you do, right?
Yeah. So another question about the Bloodstained Men. Do you know who's going to take over after Brother K gets, too old or retires? Do you know
I
who's next in
yeah,
line?
I have no idea. I would hope that that torch will be carried on long after he's gone. Um, as far as who would it be, I don't know. I mean, it seems like there's was it I want to say David Atkinson. He seems like the next runner up or something,
Okay, because I know
perhaps. Yeah,
okay, because I know a lot of Bloodstained Men supporters and critics alike, they get worried like who's gonna take after Brother K. And it
yeah. I
just
mean, the thing is Brother K is such a showman. He's very good at what he does. I don't know what he did prior to retiring, but he comes off as something like a reporter. He always uh every single live video he does with the Bloodstained Man, he's always like Brother K reporting live. And he's very vocal and outgoing and energetic, and I think it's really big shoes to fill, so I hope that whoever they could find can achieve that, and either keep Bloodstained Man at the pace they're going, or even bring them to excel beyond where they're at. Currently they're doing 60 cities a year, and who knows, maybe they could entertain the idea of actually having different sects across the country.
okay. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
also I do have a fan question for you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
little weird, but whatever. Do you think Brother K likes you?
Yeah, I'm sure he does. That's who
Okay.
I want it. Yeah.
Okay. Branching off because you did say about other sects of Bloodstained Men and stuff like that. And I like to think Cockfight is kind of like a different sect of Bloodstained Men because Brett Johnson was birthed from Bloodstained Men. How do you feel about the whole Brett Johnson just disappearing after the Pink tour that he was supposed to go on?
I don't know. I haven't tried to reach out to him myself. I noticed his profile page seemed to have lost his profile picture. I haven't really looked into that either, but I don't know. I'd imagine Brett has a lot of things going on in his own personal life, and it's really hard to juggle that. I think, and in part that's the reason why we have people that are retired that can put forth 100% of their time into this. Like Brother K, namely. Like he can volunteer all of his time because he's been at a retired age for a while now. And there's others that fit into that category. Like for those of us that have to work full-time jobs just to make ends meet, um, it's hard. You can't put that much time in doing activism. But as far as Brett Johnson and Cockfight, I know he's very dedicated, and I don't think he's gonna ever give up on it. But unfortunately, money can really get in the way of that. If he had some sort of means of having all of his needs met, he definitely would put 100% into Cockfight. And as far as the Pink show, I'm not even sure if the Pink concert happened, because the last I heard, Pink was like canceling her tour or something because of family issues. So if that concert didn't even happen, perhaps they didn't feel as inspired to go and do it. That would be my guess. Because I'd imagine if it did happen, somebody would have posted pictures about it. You you know the people that had said that was definitely going to that event, you could have perhaps clicked it and maybe checked out their page and see if they've shared anything about it. But chances are it might not have even happened. You know,
That is true. I just wonder why wouldn't he post something like, "Oh, it didn't happen. We didn't go because it never happened." You know?
for a while there, I was actually volunteering with Brett and Cockfight, and I was in charge of posting all the photos that they take from the events because the events are it's really draining. You know, like you're out there all day. You know, you're engaging. But by the time you get home, you know, you just gotta take care of yourself and stuff. You know, so being able to actually take all those countless photos that they took throughout the day, pick out the good ones that are worth sharing, and then actually making a post about it and then sharing. You know, like that's actually very time consuming. Every time I did it, we had a system where he would essentially just upload all 300 photos he took that day onto a drive, and then I would sit there and tediously pick through them until I found about 20 out of the 300 that were the best, and then I would share them. But I stepped back about 3 years ago, and I haven't done that. And then I'm not sure if anyone has actually filled that position. Brett
Okay.
never mentioned that anyone has. So
All right. Um, so David, is there any new Zazzle news with Breaking the Cut? Do you have any updates for us there?
yeah, I mean, in honor of this whole 4gen versus Bloodstained Men thing you got going on in your channel, I made a 4gen shirt. So if you want to check that out, and honestly, if you have different design ideas or different slogans you want to have set on the shirts, I could make that. You know, there's this one intactivist, Anthony Blood. He was actually later interviewed by Brendan Murata and stuff. You know, he's very active on YouTube. I'm not sure if you've come across him or not, but he reached out to me on Zazzle directly through there, and we collaborated and made a few shirts because he had some really good ideas. But yeah, I mean, I'm open to anything. I was thinking with 4gen, since they literally are about regenerating the foreskin, I think that a good slogan for them might be the one that Cockfight has used a lot. I want my foreskin back, you know. And with 4gen, I'm gonna get it or something, you know.
Okay, yeah. So how many new shirts do you have then?
All together on there, I don't know, it's maybe 10 to 20 shirts altogether.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And do you just do t-shirts or do you do other designs and stuff?
Yeah, there's cups on there. There's also bandanas and masks. Um, for a while, the masks were very popular, but now that nobody has to wear them all the time, they've definitely dropped off. But yeah, I mean, Dazzle itself is a website where you could just essentially sign on, and it's kind of like social media, but for like creating products. You know, because all I got to do is create the designs, and then Zazzle takes care of the rest. Which is cool because I would never have time to actually take a t-shirt printer and print these shirts. But with that, they are kind of pricey. Like this shirt, it's $26 just for a shirt, but it does have some on the front and the back. So
Oh,
depends on
okay.
yeah, if you find that valuable or not.
Does Zazzle have Cyber Monday and Black Friday deals?
Yeah, yeah, they actually have deals every day. But for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, they definitely give you the best top notch deals. Yeah. Right now it's saying up to 50% off invitation cards. That's something I've thought about is making some sort of info card or something. So if people want to buy them in bulk from Zazzle, you could share them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we are running out of time. David, if there's anything else you'd like to leave our viewers with, yeah, now's the time.
Yeah, I would say I would hope that you would, if you could support both Bloodstained Man and Fortune, go for it. Like I said in that video where I was saying I think you should vote for Bloodstained Man over Fortune. I think that it's fundamentally two different ideas on how to end circumcision. Fortune believes that foreskin restoration or regeneration will perhaps lead to healing men, and then maybe circumcision will end that route. And then with bloodstained men, they want to get directly to the source and stop it before it even happens. Because as great as it would be to regenerate the foreskin for millions of men that have been harmed, the psychological harm that circumcision causes can never be fully healed, even through regeneration. So really, ideally, it'd be best to just prevent it from ever happening at all, because we need to protect the children. You know, the children are the future. They're our future leaders. You know, like if we want a peaceful world, we really need to just get to the source and do and advocate for genital integrity for all, including not just females. As it currently stands, everyone accepts that women should have the right to their genital integrity, but males should be included in that as well, and even intersex peoples, because really the reality is it's their body. Really, no one should have the right to start disfiguring or changing it just to appease others. And that's I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, David, for coming on the show. We love having you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, Potts here. So if you like that video, please give it a like and a subscribe, hopefully, and, you know, share the video. That really does help the channel, and it also helps out intactivists to go spread the message. There will be links down below for David's Breaking the Cut Zazzle store, as well as my Discord, and also don't forget to vote. Awesome. Thank you guys for watching, and part 2 will be coming out soon as well. Bye.